It's 2:47 a.m. A 17-year-old boy sits across from two detectives in a sterile interrogation room. His hands are shaking. His voice cracks as he speaks the words that will change everything. Teen voice, shaky, barely audible. I did it. I killed her. But here's the thing that kept me awake for 3 nights straight researching this case. The murder he just confessed to, it happened 200 miles away. At the exact same time security cameras show him buying a sandwich at his local gas station. So why would an innocent teenager confess to a brutal crime he couldn't have committed? And more importantly, what if he wasn't as innocent as everyone thought? Welcome to the most twisted case of mistaken identity, false confession, and buried secrets that I've ever covered. Because sometimes the truth is stranger than any lie. Tonight's story is titled, "The Teen Who Confessed to a Crime He Didn't Commit." Or did he? But before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from, and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, if you're wearing headphones, perfect. If not, you might want to put some on. Or you can lower the volume now, just enough so my voice blends gently with the stillness of your room. Close your eyes. Let your shoulders sink just a bit more into your pillow. You don't have to do anything. Just listen. Let me paint you a picture of Millbrook, Tennessee. Population 8,000. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone. Where the biggest scandal is usually someone's affair at the church potluck. Tree-lined streets, white picket fences, and that small-town feeling that makes city folks nostalgic for a simpler life. It's October 15th, 2019. And our story begins with 17-year-old Marcus Webb. Marcus wasn't your typical high school senior. While his classmates worried about homecoming dates and college applications, Marcus spent his afternoons at the Millbrook Public Library, nose deep in true crime books, serial killers, unsolved mysteries, forensic science. He devoured it all. His friends thought it was weird. His parents thought it was a phase. His girlfriend, Sarah, thought it was actually kind of cool. Sarah's voice, Marcus was intense about crime stuff. Like, really intense. He could tell you everything about the Zodiac Killer, Ted Bundy, even local cases from decades ago. It was like he had this photographic memory for the dark stuff. Marcus worked part-time at Henderson's hardware store after school. Quiet kid, reliable, never caused trouble. His boss, Jim Henderson, remembers him fondly. Jim's voice, older man. That boy was punctual as a Swiss watch. Never missed a day. Always stayed late if I needed him. Polite as they come. Called me, sir, even after working there 2 years. But Marcus had secrets. Deep, dark secrets that he kept locked away in a journal hidden under his mattress. Secrets that would soon explode into the public eye in the most horrifying way possible. Phone buzzing, urgent news alerts. October 15th, 2019. 11:30 p.m. Marcus's world was about to shatter. The murder, 200 miles north of Millbrook, in the bustling city of Nashville, 23-year-old Rebecca Torres was found dead in her apartment. The scene was brutal. Rebecca, a nursing student at Vanderbilt University, had been stabbed 17 times. Her apartment was ransacked, but strangely, nothing valuable was taken. Detective Chen's voice, the attack was personal. Overkill like that, 17 stab wounds. That's not a robbery gone wrong. Someone wanted Rebecca Torres to suffer. Detective Linda Chen had seen her share of homicides, but this one felt different. The killer had been methodical, almost ritualistic. They'd arranged Rebecca's body in a specific position, left bizarre symbols drawn in her own blood on the bedroom wall. The Nashville Police Department launched a massive investigation. They interviewed Rebecca's friends, family, professors, co-workers at the hospital where she volunteered. Everyone described her the same way: sweet, caring, dedicated to helping people. No enemies, no bitter ex-boyfriends. No reason anyone would want her dead. But here's where it gets interesting. 3 days into the investigation, Detective Chen received a call that changed everything. A tip from an anonymous caller claiming they knew who killed Rebecca Torres. The voice was young, male, nervous. Anonymous caller, the guy you're looking for, his name is Marcus. Marcus Webb. He lives in Millbrook, Tennessee. He He told me he did it. The call lasted exactly 4 to 7 seconds. The number was traced to a burner phone that was never found. But Detective Chen had been a cop for 15 years, and something about that call felt genuine, desperate, scared. Within 6 hours, Detective Chen and her partner, Detective Rodriguez, were driving south to the sleepy town of Millbrook, Tennessee. They had a name, an address, and enough probable cause to bring Marcus Webb in for questioning. They had no idea they were about to encounter one of the most puzzling cases in Tennessee criminal justice history. The interrogation. October 18th, 2019, 6:15 p.m. Marcus Webb was finishing his shift at Henderson's Hardware when two Nashville detectives walked through the front door. Jim Henderson later described the moment as surreal. Jim's voice, Marcus went white as a sheet. I mean, completely pale. Started shaking like a leaf in a thunderstorm. I thought maybe he'd gotten some bad news about family or something. The detectives were professional, polite. They asked Marcus if he'd mind coming to the station to answer a few questions about Rebecca Torres. Marcus looked confused, claimed he'd never heard the name before, but he agreed to come voluntarily. During the 20-minute drive to the Millbrook police station, Marcus sat in complete silence. Detective Chen watched him in the rear-view mirror. His leg bounced nervously, his hands fidgeted with his sleeves, and he kept glancing out the window like he was memorizing the route. Detective Chen's voice, in my experience, innocent people ask questions. Lots of questions. What's this about? Who's Rebecca Torres? Am I in trouble? But Marcus, dead silent. That was the first red flag. The Millbrook police station interrogation room was small, windowless, painted that institutional beige that seems designed to make people uncomfortable. A metal table, 3 chairs, and a recording device that would capture one of the most bizarre confessions in criminal history. Detective Chen started with basic questions. Name, age, address, occupation. Marcus answered in a monotone voice, barely making eye contact. Then she showed him a photograph. Detective Chen's voice, Marcus, I'm going to show you a photo. Do you recognize this woman? Marcus's voice, no, never seen her before. Detective Chen's voice, this is Rebecca Torres. She was murdered 3 days ago in Nashville. Someone called us and said you were involved. What happened next still gives me chills. Marcus stared at that photograph for exactly 37 seconds. I timed it on the recording. His breathing got heavier. His hands started trembling. And then, Marcus's voice, I want to tell you something. Detective Chen's voice, okay, Marcus, what do you want to tell us? Marcus's voice, I think I might have done something bad. For the next 3 hours, Marcus Webb painted a detailed picture of a crime he claimed to have committed. He described Rebecca's apartment layout with stunning accuracy. He knew about the symbols drawn in blood. He knew she'd been stabbed 17 times. He even knew details that hadn't been released to the public. But here's where the story takes its first major twist. While Marcus was confessing to murder in that interrogation room, Detective Rodriguez was making phone calls, checking alibis, verifying timelines. Detective Rodriguez's voice, I need to speak with Jim Henderson at Henderson's Hardware. Yes, I'll hold. The murder occurred on October 15th between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. according to the coroner's report. Detective Rodriguez called the hardware store, checked security footage from nearby businesses, even pulled Marcus's cell phone records. The evidence was ironclad. Marcus Webb was in Millbrook, Tennessee, the entire night Rebecca Torres was murdered in Nashville. So how did a 17-year-old boy from a small town know intimate details about a crime scene he'd never been to? How did he know things that even the police hadn't released to the media? And why was he confessing to a murder he couldn't have committed? The investigation deepens. Detective Chen faced a dilemma that would haunt her career. She had a detailed confession to a brutal murder, but the confessor had an airtight alibi. In 15 years of police work, she'd never encountered anything like it. Detective Chen's voice, my gut told me Marcus knew something. Nobody confesses to murder for fun. But the evidence was clear. He wasn't in Nashville that night. So what was I missing? The investigation split into 2 tracks. Track 1, verify every detail of Marcus's confession to find the holes. Track 2, dig deeper into Marcus Webb's life to understand why he would make such a claim. What they found in Marcus's bedroom changed everything. Hidden under his mattress, wrapped in a plastic bag, was a journal. 4 to 7 pages of handwritten notes about true crime cases, murder techniques, and most disturbing of all, detailed fantasies about committing violent crimes. But one entry, dated just 2 weeks before Rebecca Torres's murder, made Detective Chen's blood run cold. Detective Chen's voice, I've been thinking about Nashville again. The girl with the dark hair who works at the hospital. She doesn't know I've been watching her. But I have. I know her routine, her apartment, even which window she leaves unlocked. Rebecca Torres had dark hair. She worked at a hospital, and according to crime scene photos, her bedroom window was found unlocked. Detective Chen immediately called Vanderbilt University Hospital, where Rebecca volunteered. She needed to know if anyone matching Marcus Webb's description had been seen around the facility. Hospital security, let me check our visitor logs and security footage from the past month. While waiting for that information, Detective Rodriguez made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the investigation. Marcus Webb's cell phone records showed something peculiar. Every Tuesday for the past 6 weeks, his phone had pinged cell towers along the route from Millbrook to Nashville. Detective Rodriguez's voice, Linda, you need to see this. The kid's been driving to Nashville regularly. Every Tuesday. Same route, same timing. Rebecca Torres volunteered at the hospital every Tuesday evening. But here's where the case takes another impossible turn. The security footage from Vanderbilt Hospital showed no one matching Marcus Webb's description. The visitor logs contain no record of him. And most confusing of all, his cell phone records showed him returning to Millbrook every Tuesday night by 10 p.m. So if Marcus had been stalking Rebecca Torres, how had he done it without being caught on camera? And if he was back in Millbrook by 10 p.m. every Tuesday, how could he have murdered her between 9 and 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night? The answer came from an unexpected source. Marcus's girlfriend, Sarah, called the police station in tears. Sarah's voice, crying, on phone, I need to tell you something about Marcus. Something I should have said earlier. But I was scared. The girlfriend's secret. Sarah Martinez had been dating Marcus Webb for 8 months. She was 18, a senior at Millbrook High, and according to everyone who knew her, the sweetest girl in town. But Sarah had been keeping a secret that would crack this case wide open. Sarah's voice, Marcus has been different lately, obsessed with this girl in Nashville. He showed me pictures he'd taken of her. Detective Chen's voice, pictures? What kind of pictures? Sarah's voice, long-distance shots, like he was following her. He said her name was Rebecca and that she was perfect. He talked about her constantly. Sarah led detectives to a hidden folder on Marcus's laptop. What they found was a digital shrine to Rebecca Torres. Hundreds of photos taken from a distance. Screenshots from her social media. Even floor plans of her apartment building that Marcus had somehow obtained. But the most chilling discovery was a video file dated October 14, 2019. One day before the murder, the video showed Rebecca Torres walking to her apartment, completely unaware she was being filmed. Detective Chen's voice, reviewing evidence. The timestamp on this video is 8:47 p.m. According to his cell phone records, Marcus was back in Millbrook by 10 p.m. that night. That's barely enough time to drive back, let alone commit a murder. Sarah revealed more disturbing details. Marcus had been having violent dreams about Rebecca. He'd wake up in cold sweats, muttering about blood and knives. He'd even bought a hunting knife, which he claimed was for camping but had never used. Sarah's voice, sobbing. The night before she was killed, Marcus called me at 2 a.m. He was crying, saying he'd done something terrible. But when I asked what, he just hung up. Detective Chen was facing an impossible puzzle. All the evidence pointed to Marcus Webb being obsessed with Rebecca Torres. His journal entries, the photos, the stalking behavior. It all suggested he was capable of murder. But the timeline didn't work. The alibi was solid. And something about Marcus's confession still felt wrong. Detective Chen's voice, frustrated. Confessions usually come with guilt, remorse, or defiance. But Marcus seemed almost relieved. Like he was confessing to get something off his chest, not because he actually did it. That's when Detective Chen decided to try a different approach. Instead of focusing on what Marcus had done, she started investigating what Marcus might be covering up. And that's when she discovered the truth that would change everything. The brother's shadow. October 22nd, 2019. Detective Chen stood on the porch of the Webb family home, but this time she wasn't there to see Marcus. She was there to meet someone the investigation had overlooked, Marcus's older brother, David. Mrs. Webb's voice, David? Why would you want to talk to David? He's been in college in Nashville since August. He barely comes home. David Webb, age 20, was a sophomore at Vanderbilt University, the same university where Rebecca Torres was a nursing student, the same university with the hospital where she volunteered. Detective Chen felt that familiar tingle that every good investigator knows, the moment when scattered pieces start forming a picture. She met David at a coffee shop near campus. Unlike his younger brother, David was confident, charismatic, and seemed genuinely puzzled by the questions about Rebecca Torres. David's voice, Rebecca Torres? Yeah, I knew her. We had a psychology class together last semester. Sweet girl, really smart. Wait, is she the one who was murdered? That's horrible. David seemed genuinely shocked to learn about Rebecca's death. But Detective Chen had learned to look beyond the surface. She started asking about his relationship with his brother. David's voice, Marcus has always been intense. Even as kids, he was obsessed with dark stuff. Crime shows, horror movies, anything violent. Our parents thought he'd grow out of it. Detective Chen's voice. Did Marcus ever visit you at college? David's voice. Pause. Visit? No, never. Why would he? He doesn't even have a car. But that wasn't true. Detective Chen knew Marcus had been driving to Nashville every Tuesday. She also knew that David's dormitory was only 3 blocks from the hospital where Rebecca volunteered. Detective Chen's voice. David, I need to ask you about Tuesday, October 15th. Where were you that evening? David's voice. I was studying. In my room. My roommate can verify that. His roommate couldn't verify it. In fact, his roommate told police that David frequently disappeared on Tuesday evenings, claiming he was visiting a girlfriend who went to a different school. Detective Chen was starting to see the real picture. 2 brothers, one obsessed with crime and violence but physically incapable of murder, and another with access, opportunity, and a secret he was desperate to hide. But she needed proof, and she was about to get it in the most unexpected way. October 24th, 2019, 3:17 a.m. Detective Chen's phone rang, jolting her from sleep. The caller ID showed the Millbrook Police Department. Dispatcher's voice, Detective Chen. You need to get to the station immediately. Marcus Webb is here, and he wants to change his confession. The truth emerges. Detective Chen arrived at the station to find Marcus Webb in the same interrogation room where he'd confessed 5 days earlier. But this time, he looked different. Hollow-eyed, exhausted, but somehow more focused than she'd ever seen him. Marcus's voice, I need to tell you the truth. The real truth this time. Detective Chen's voice, okay, Marcus. I'm listening. Marcus's voice, I didn't kill Rebecca Torres, but I know who did. What Marcus revealed in that early morning interrogation was a story of brotherly love, misguided loyalty, and a secret that had been eating him alive for over a week. Marcus's voice, shaky. David called me that Tuesday night. October 15th. He was crying, panicking. He said he'd done something terrible and needed help. According to Marcus, David had been stalking Rebecca Torres for months. Not Marcus, David. The photos on Marcus's computer? David had taken them and stored them there to avoid suspicion. The journal entries? Dictated by David as part of an elaborate plan to frame his younger brother if he ever got caught. Marcus's voice. He said if anyone ever suspected him, I should confess. He said I was a minor. I'd get a lighter sentence. He said it was the only way to protect our family from the shame. Marcus explained how David had manipulated him for months. Using his younger brother's fascination with true crime, David fed him details about Rebecca Torres, her routine, her apartment. He convinced Marcus that he was just sharing an interesting case study about stalking behavior. Detective Chen's voice. Marcus, why are you telling me this now? Marcus's voice, because I can't live with it anymore. And because he's going to do it again. Marcus revealed that David had been talking about another girl, a redhead who worked at the campus bookstore. David had been following her, learning her routine, just like he'd done with Rebecca Torres. Detective Chen immediately called her partner. Within an hour, Nashville police had David Webb under surveillance. They didn't have to wait long. Detective Rodriguez's voice. Subject is approaching a female student walking alone near the bookstore. Moving to intercept. David Webb was arrested at 11:47 p.m. on October 24, 2019, as he followed a 20-year-old Vanderbilt student to her off-campus apartment. In his backpack, police found a hunting knife, rope, and detailed notes about the girl's daily routine. The same hunting knife Marcus had bought months earlier, thinking it was for camping. The confession unravels. David Webb's trial began 6 months later. The prosecution painted a picture of a calculated predator who had manipulated his younger brother into becoming an unwitting accomplice and eventual scapegoat. The evidence was overwhelming. DNA found under Rebecca Torres's fingernails matched David's. Security footage from a gas station between Nashville and Millbrook showed David's car on the night of the murder. Most damning of all, Rebecca's blood was found on clothes hidden in David's dormitory room. Prosecutor's voice. In court, David Webb didn't just kill Rebecca Torres. He orchestrated an elaborate scheme to frame his own brother, exploiting Marcus's psychological vulnerabilities and fascination with crime. But the defense argued something that still haunts me to this day. They claimed that Marcus wasn't as innocent as he appeared, that his confession, while factually incorrect, revealed a disturbed young man capable of violence. Defense attorney's voice. Marcus Webb's detailed knowledge of this crime, his obsessive interest in violence, his willingness to confess to murder. These are not the actions of an innocent victim. This is a disturbed individual who may not have committed this particular crime, but who was clearly capable of it. The psychological evaluation of Marcus Webb revealed a complex picture. He scored high on measures of empathy and showed no signs of antisocial personality disorder. But he also displayed what psychologists called secondary trauma symptoms, as if he had experienced the murder vicariously through his brother's detailed descriptions. Dr. Patricia Reeves, forensic psychologist, Marcus exhibited symptoms consistent with someone who had been psychologically manipulated over an extended period. His false confession was likely a combination of misplaced loyalty, psychological pressure, and what we call internalized guilt, feeling responsible for crimes he didn't commit. The verdict and aftermath. On March 18, 2020, after 3 days of deliberation, the jury found David Webb guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Marcus Webb was never charged with any crime. However, the case had devastating effects on his life and mental health. Sarah's voice. Marcus was never the same after the trial. The guilt of protecting his brother, the media attention, the way people looked at him around town, it destroyed him psychologically. Marcus dropped out of high school just months before graduation. He underwent extensive therapy and eventually moved away from Millbrook to start fresh in another state. He now works as a victim's advocate, using his experience to help others who have been manipulated by family members. Marcus's voice, present day, more mature. People ask me why I protected David for so long. The truth is, when someone you love tells you that you're the only one who can save your family, you believe them, especially when they've been grooming you to believe it for years. Detective Chen retired 2 years after the case closed. She now teaches criminal justice at a community college, using the Webb case as an example of how family dynamics can complicate even the most straightforward investigations. Detective Chen's voice. The Marcus Webb case taught me that sometimes the most compelling confessions come from the most innocent people. Guilt is a powerful motivator, even when that guilt is misplaced. The lingering questions. But here's what still keeps me awake at night thinking about this case. 3 questions that may never have satisfactory answers. First, how much did Marcus really know? The prosecution argued he was a manipulated victim, but some of his journal entries predated his brother's supposed recruitment of him as an accomplice. Was Marcus's fascination with Rebecca Torres independently developed, or was David's manipulation more extensive than anyone realized? Second, could this have been prevented? Multiple people, teachers, family members, friends, knew about Marcus's obsession with violent crime. His girlfriend knew about his disturbing dreams. The signs were there, but no one connected them until it was too late. And third, the question that haunts me most, are there other David Webbs out there? Other manipulative killers using family members as psychological shields, creating elaborate scenarios to deflect suspicion? I spent months researching similar cases for this video. What I found was disturbing. There are at least 17 documented cases in the past decade of family members confessing to crimes they didn't commit to protect relatives. Most involve parents protecting children. But the Webb case represents something far more sinister, a calculated exploitation of family loyalty for personal gain. Dr. Reeves's voice, the manipulation tactics David Webb used on his brother are consistent with those employed by cult leaders, abusive partners, and other predatory individuals. The victim becomes so psychologically dependent on the manipulator that they'll sacrifice their own well-being to protect them. Rebecca Torres would have turned 27 this year. She wanted to be a pediatric nurse to help children who couldn't help themselves. Her murder robbed the world of someone who dedicated her life to caring for others. David Webb sits in a maximum security prison in Tennessee, still maintaining his innocence despite overwhelming evidence. He's filed multiple appeals, all unsuccessful. Prison records show he receives regular visits from his parents, but Marcus has never come to see him. Marcus Webb, now 23, has built a new life under a different name. He's engaged to be married and works with victims of domestic violence. He's never spoken publicly about the case since his court testimony, but sources close to him say he's finally found peace. The Webb case changed how Tennessee law enforcement handles confessions from minors. It also led to new training protocols for recognizing psychological manipulation in families. But perhaps most importantly, it serves as a reminder that the truth is rarely simple, confessions aren't always reliable, and sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones who know exactly how to hide behind the people who love them most. Closing, I've covered hundreds of true crime cases for this channel, but the story of Marcus Webb and his brother David is one that changed how I think about family, loyalty, and the dangerous power of psychological manipulation. It's a reminder that sometimes the most compelling mysteries aren't about who done it, but about why someone would confess to something they didn't do, and how far people will go to protect the ones they love, even when those people don't deserve protection. If you found this case as fascinating and disturbing as I did, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I spend weeks researching each of these stories, digging through court documents, police reports, and conducting interviews to bring you the full truth behind cases like this. Next week, I'll be covering the case of the woman who disappeared from a locked room on the 14th floor of a hotel, leaving behind only a single clue that led investigators on a chase across 3 countries. It's a case that had me questioning everything I thought I knew about impossible crimes. Drop a comment below and let me know. Do you think Marcus Webb was truly innocent, or was there more to his involvement than he ever admitted? And what would you have done if you were in Detective Chen's position when faced with a confession that didn't match the evidence? Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and remember, the truth is always more complicated than it first appears.